government has weaponized poverty. They want us to be poor. Atakikupatia 22,000 uko, yes, mheshimiwa. Oh my God, king, the conqueror, the emperor, the champion. I'm just surprised that a youth can make such remarks on a regime that is killing its youths. Anyway, I am charity. 2010 constitution has everything in there. But again, I feel like the 10-point agenda served its purpose, because its purpose was to calm down political tension, and it did that for the political elites. Because the moment the Gen Zs took to the streets, what we did, we tulitisha every political elite. Kila political elite alikuwa like, na kazi inaweza enda, na tenda inaweza enda. So it calmed the tension among them, but it didn't serve Kenyans. It didn't serve the common mwananchi. It was not for us. It was for them.
Where?
Because in every point, kutoka number 1 mpaka number 10, I can cite an example on each, on how they didn't implement it. So I'm so says, or best known, Cicely Mbarile, akiuliza president, please, you are even begging the president to comment on the 2-3 gender rule. You have ignored it completely. And the president goes, are you sure you want to say something? Are you sure you want to comment on something? What is that? It was part of the NADCO report. It was supposed to be having implemented. NADCO report kwanza ilitoka 2023, ilitoka before the 10-point agenda.
Yes.
But still kuna vitu hapo ndani hawajafanya. Inclusivity in governance. We were supposed to be included as the youth in governance. I want to pose a question to all of you. Munajua CS wa youth ni nani? Munajua ako na miaka ngapi? The CS for youth is 56 years old. Youth. Anyway. Protect and strengthen devolution. Juzi tu tuliona wamesign karatasi, and now Nairobi ni kama pia iko na shares zenye tulikuwa tunaambiwa na Rigathi. Ni kama Nairobi pia watu wamegawana. What's devolution? If we can't protect it and strengthen it. Anyway, number 4, economic investment in the youth. We saw the president akizuru nchi, akitembea huku na kule kama mawimbi, akienda ku launch 22,000 na mahelicopter na machopa. And someone asked, why would you put an event ya over 10 million, hata hiyo nimeandarate, to give youths 22,000? And then there was this instance, sijui kama mliona Ukambani, a youth akatumia hiyo pesa, the president asked for the phone, looked at it, and he was shocked. Ati guy, yani hauko na pesa nyingine ulikuwa unangoja tu. I'm like, what? You have, this government has weaponized poverty. They want us to be poor. Atakikupatia 22,000 uko, yes, mheshimiwa. Oh my God, king, the conqueror, the emperor, the champion. Uphold integrity in leadership. I can go on and on and integrity. Oh my God.
There's no need.
Right to peaceful assembly. I have been to Kitengela. I have been to Kakamega. I was there on ground. Nilikuwa hapo tukizima hiyo tear gas. Nilivuta, nilikunywa. Is that peaceful? What do you mean? You can't. Someone was killed in Kitengela. His burial is tomorrow. What do you tell the wife of that man, the daughter of that man, the mother? The man was not even in the rally. By the way, hakuwa hata kwa hiyo rally. Aliuliwa akitoka job. Na uko na points. Audit and reduction of public debt. Well, yesterday, is it juicy tulikuwa hiyo 10-point lies ya Linda Mwananchi. And Babu Owino said that right now, mtu akizaliwa anakuwa born into a debt of 230,000. Ukizaliwa 230,000. And we are supposed to reduce the debt. Inyo tafanda yenye watu wanapatiwa. I don't know if people know it's a loan. It's something we will pay as Kenyans. Sijui kwa nini mnampraise hivi na ni kitu sisi tutalipa. Talanta Stadium will cost us 100. How do unakopa aje 4,000 bob afu unalipa 14,000 bob, ama 400,000 afu unalipa 1.4 million? Does it make sense? Because you can't tell us we borrow 45 billion and pay 145 billion. It just doesn't add up. It doesn't make how we have misplaced priorities as a country. People are dying of hunger. People are dying of floods. We had a whole governor tell us he can't put 25 billion for drainage. It's a lot of money, but we can pay 145 billion for a stadium, and people are dying. Anyway, fight corruption. Kila siku kwa inchi tukiamka tunapatia dose of anger kama Panado 2 times 3. Unaamka tu umejam. Unaamka 50 billion sha imeenda. Unaamka 1.3 trillion withdrawn from treasury. What corruption are we fighting? I can go on and on and on.
Tuachie hapo kwanza.
And I would urge my friends like Charity to take time and read particularly this document, because from what I've seen, they have not read this doc. If you would have read, I would have seen you mentioning things that are in detail of that. But going to your question, I will remain to say my view is that I still rank it at 8 out of 10. The reason why the 2 is out of there, now the first one, whether you are supporting this government or not, one major concern for all of us as Kenyans is this issue around debt. And it is true by the facts that have been given that our current debt is at 12.2 trillion, 6.8 was incurred externally and 5.4 was internally. It's so bad to the extent that 67% of our GDP is going towards the repayment of debt. Now, this issue of debt has some historical precedence to it. By the time Uhuru Kenyatta was leaving government, it was about 8.9 trillion. The reason as to why government we are, and I think you addressed this question, why are we incurring so many debts on a daily basis? And I think you had even raised that question. The reason is this: there's something called debt maturity debts, okay? And some of the commercial debts that we had taken, say for example, the one that was taken in towards a building of SGR. Now, government has now to incur something called consolidated debts towards the repayment of these commercial debts. If Kenya was not abiding towards international standards, the debts that had been taken by Uhuru Kenyatta, we could easily classify them as something called odious debts. But not going so much into hard economic terms, let me go back to the fixes. What do we do? There's something called physical consolidation. Because now you have asked, what are now the solutions? There's something called physical consolidation. For example, we should now be discussing how do we reduce the rate at which budget deficit at currently 6.9% goes back to the annual growth of GDP at 5.3%, because budget deficit is one of the things that is affecting our GDP growth rate. That is it. Now, going back to, and the final thing, and now because of time, the reason there's been a much discussion around the Nyatula program, and I've just said, our young people, let us take time to read and understand these things. Because, for example, the Nyota program, today we have 820,000 youths who have benefited out of this Nyota program. The 22,000, and I kept listening to Latif questioning him, was it really from the World Bank? There's nothing such as that. He has not read this Nyota program. The 22,000 is given in the first phase. In the second phase, there will be an extra 23,000 that will be given. Today, as we speak, in the 1,450 wards in this country, as government, we have been able to disperse 22,000 to across 70 youths in all across all the 1,450 wards, working with the probability that some of, even half of them, spend the money towards, shere and all that. 35 new micro entrepreneurial spaces will be opened in each constituency in this country. If we do it across the 1,450, it will be 50,000. The reason why I like working with facts and figures is because they can be cross-checked, they can be checked. It's not abstract opinions. It's very easy to evoke emotions. But let me finally say this.
So you said it's not...
It's because for the viewers who are watching us, they need to pick something that is actually tangible and that they can fact check, not just abstract opinions that is easily able to invoke the emotions. So, my friend Charity, please take time and read.
Can we address the issue at hand? Who do we have in the... Nani yako hapo sahi? What is he doing to unroot the root? Ama pia yana root uko ndani? I don't get it. Again, you can't do the exam and mark it yourself. Government, we as the government, you can't do the exam and mark it. We as the ones who are supposed to mark it. Since tunafaa to mark as Kenyans and tell you mume perform hivi.
Yeah.
Sindio? Sinyi mnafaa mkae mjiambia ati 8 out of 10 and the 2 is because of death. So watu walikufa anyway. What are we doing about it? The first thing I need to tell Kenyans, we've lost, or rather the government, we've lost trust with the government. This government cannot help Kenyans at this point. It's like being in a toxic relationship and you're saying, I can't change him. You don't know him like I do. Oh, we know him like you do. He won't change. So please, it's time to change the regime. Whether by maandamano, whether by ballot, whichever, Ruto has to go home. And he has to go home with all his minions, drain the swamp.
How do you identify?
Why am I saying this? Ruto, akiingia hapo, alikuwa amekuwa CS, alikuwa amekuwa deputy, alikuwa amekuwa vitu mingi in government. We didn't look at his, what do I call it? History and consistency. Nowadays, we see tweets of Jacob Juma resurfacing. Now, what's in a resurface? Very, sijui niseme aje, strategically, ama when the time is right. Kitu tu happen if tunaona tweet yake, about Ngeno, about Ruto, about Murkomen, about all these people. We ignored the history. We ignored looking at the consistency of this leader. And when it comes to Kenyans need to look at this. Tukiangalia consistency ya... Anyway, it's time to change the regime. Tafadhali. Young people, if you've not taken up your voters card, please do so. take up that voters card kwa sababu nimesema it's either maandamano or ballot, one of the two.
Let me paint a picture.
Unajua, I've realized Kenyans hawajasoma the role of an MCA, the role of a senator, the role of a niliona a girl juzi on Citizen akisema at Senator Sifuna has failed because he has not delivered on sanitary pads, and you wonder, it's absurd. We need to educate ourselves on these things. An MCA is as powerful as a president when it comes to that word. Angalia, an MP is as powerful. The MP is the one who oversees the president. Kuna mtu alikuwa anasema in case tufanye 2027 elections and Ruto goes, let me now paint a picture. Ruto goes back. But 60% of parliament is young people who are vigilant and know what they have gone there to do. We can impeach the guy in 1 week and he will go home.
Or make him work.